In three, two, one, and we're going. In one way, an arrow moves, in another way, the mind. Yet the mind, both when it cautiously examines its ground and when it is engaged in its inquiry, is nonetheless moving straight ahead and toward its goal. It's a quote from Book 8 from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and today we're joined by a special guest. Devilray Pen Testing is making educational hacking content and partnered with another friend of the channel, Cyber Warrior Studios. And today, Devilray brings with him an important lesson that action, not wishful thinking, action is what sends the arrow and allows the mind to be our most dangerous tool. So welcome, Devilray.
Thank you for having me.
For those that may not have heard of you before, tell us a little about yourself and how you got involved in the hacking community.
So it started whenever I was going through college. I was still trying to figure out. I knew that I wanted to do something in cybersecurity, just didn't know what. And whenever I finally came across my certified ethical hacker course in college, I hated it because there was almost nothing there. There's almost no meat on the bones when it comes to the content or anything like that. So it left me wanting more. So with that being said, I dove into it. And ever since then, it's just been full throttle. It started out with Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. And then eventually I met up with Infinite Logins, Harley, where he eventually pushed me to the point of starting a YouTube channel. And then from there, that's where I later on met up with Cyber Studios, and now I'm partnered with him, doing content creation for him while also studying and learning more techniques on the pen testing and ethical hacking side of the world.
Very cool. I'm curious. How did you get involved with Cyber Warrior Studios? Was there maybe I guess like perspective or something that you felt you could fill the void in?
So initially, it was we interacted some way on Twitter, and it was through Infinite Logins post that he had, and I replied to it, and then Cyber Warrior Studios had chimed in, and then that's where I dug into that. And eventually he reached out to me and said, "Hey, look, I know you're new to the YouTube community, but I'm looking to start up like this whole streaming service," which I believe he talked about in your actual last episode, where he's trying to start up a whole streaming service for us security or in IT content creators, to where we have a safe place to go, because more people are the one person that knows more than anything about getting strikes on YouTube, which is Infinite Logins. He's been hit with those things more times than I can counted, and it sucks for us because all we're out there trying to do is show ways of how things are done and how you can protect yourself against those attack vectors or exploits that may be coming down your way potentially. And luckily for him, he's been able to restore a lot of his stuff, but it just annoying to have to go through that whenever you have someone like Google, who has a vulnerability disclosure program, taking down videos on how to protect yourself against vulnerabilities and exploits. So that's kind of like how the whole path towards Cyber Warrior, me being partnered and doing Devilray pen testing on Wednesdays on his channel, was because I saw what was happening in the community, and I liked the idea, I liked the vision, the mission, and I was jumped on, and ever since then been creating content with them.
That's awesome, man. And you know, I haven't personally been affected by YouTube going crazy on my content. I haven't, thankfully, I haven't been unlucky like a lot of other people have. But it's really sad to see that they're so strict about it. You know, because like you can go on YouTube and there's like a very clear difference between the people that are up to no good and the people that are pushing content for like legit reasons.
Yeah,
I mean, like, go ahead.
Today I just watched a video to where a guy took a credit card scammer and essentially punished him for being a scammer. And he found a way, like, hey, this dude is legitimately running transactions, and these failed transactions cost that person money. So he wrote a script to constantly hit that button, and he let it run forever. And I was like, how does that get 1.4 million views and doesn't get striked when you have someone who's trying to help companies, small businesses, and other security researchers grow and build knowledge? They are just now breaking a few thousand subscribers and not really getting that many views compared to other content creators. And it kind of blew my mind whenever I saw that this morning. So
Well, it kind of opens the door to an interesting conversation. Yeah, I know in recent times the kind of topic of hackback has kind of come back into the public light. You have any thoughts on that? Do you think companies should be potentially hacking back their adversaries, or
that's a very, very thin line. Because when it comes to from what my very small knowledge, and I will admit I have very small knowledge when it comes to legislation on the computer side and the hacking side. I just know that without certain things in place, you can get yourself in deep trouble, like having an agreement, NDA, and stuff like that. But when it comes to hackback, do I think it's right? In my opinion, yes, in some aspects. It also depends on, does it warrant it? Did they break in and then report it? I'm sorry, but if you're going to go after another security researcher who just tried to help you out, you're asking for trouble. You know what I mean? Whereas it's, hey, this group came in, hacked into our system, found a vulnerability to download a bunch of intellectual property, and now we are out millions of dollars. Okay, cool, but what is hacking back really going to do? All you're going to do is maybe potentially bring down their hardware for a couple days or a couple months, or you might be able to find a location. But the thing is anyone worth their salt knows when they've been breached. And so if they know that they've been breached and that they've been burned, they're gone. So in my opinion, yes, you could do it, but is the worth really there? Is what it comes down to. Is it really worth to spend the time and resources for a company after you've just been breached and had a cyber attack on you? Is it really worth it to have that? So it really comes down to what the individual entity or agency or whoever wants to come down and do.
yeah, and I can see some arguments for that. Mostly on the law enforcement and like the defense industry side, I can kind of see some arguments for that. But if it's just for regular companies, I kind of look at it the same way that I do kind of like like vigilante justice.
Yeah.
Because I've been on Twitter a couple of times, and just some random bug happens, and there's like thousands of failed requests. And I can imagine that happening to some other person on some other service, and some horror story of some innocent person getting hackbacked by a much more like financially funded, entity. So it's just any kind of potential for wrong or like innocent people to get affected by it. It kind of undermines the whole premise for me.
Yeah, agreed 100% with that. And it comes down to also if like you may have your intel wrong. If you have your intel wrong and you're not 100% on it and you act on it, it's going to end very, very badly.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to a whole lot of factors on if you're even really wanting to make that a thing that you're even doing.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your background, because we had kind of chit-chatted on the side previously. You're not coming from like a typical background, are you? You kind of have like a weird entry into this ecosystem, right?
Yeah, so I started out of high school joining the Air Force, where I did combat search and rescue for 6 years, and there's no real IT in the traditional sense behind that. I mean, yeah, I had stuff to deal with the aircraft that I flew, but outside of that, there's no real IT background. And it wasn't until I got out and I was a authorized retailer for Dish Network as a technician and doing some other side odd jobs that I started getting in IT, where I got into installing switches and access points for uh, small businesses around here and retirement homes. And then I finally got into college. And once I got into college and started figuring out what my path was going to be, that's where I ended up learning more about what's in the IT realm and things about like DFIR and pen testing and blue team, red team, purple team, stuff like that, and policy writing and technical writing, things like that. I started learning about that. And that's where I started dabbling in every bit of thing. And that ultimately ended up in pen testing and ethical hacking. So,
That's really cool, man. How, what kind of tell us a little bit about what you currently have credential wise.
honestly, right now, nothing. I'm actually currently working on my PNPT as we speak. I was actually doing the OSINT course through TCM Academy. Once I get my PNPT, I'm hoping to land an actual job somewhere that's in IT, because I'm not even in an IT job at my current position. I'm a government contractor for an Air Force unit. Um, but once I get, or yeah, once PNPT is complete, I'll probably go for my OSCP, my OSWE, and things like that, just to build my credentials that way. And hopefully, here in about a year and a half, I'll have my bachelor's in cybersecurity.
Well, very cool, man. And like there's nothing wrong with that. Like I started somewhere. Like it's everyone, man. And
Yep.
very curious. Do you feel like higher education has built like a good foundation for you so far, or do you feel like most of the learning has kind of been on your own?
A lot of the learning has been with talking with people that's in the industry or practicing on the side. That's where I've learned a lot of my uh, essentially the meat and potatoes of what I've known nowadays. Yes, there is some aspects where higher education did help set the baseline for a foundation, but reality, a lot of it comes down to what you're willing to put into it. For me, I've dove heavily into networking so I can understand networking, um, at least enough to get through packing and pen testing. But really, it does come down to what you're willing to put into it and what you're willing to try and pull out of it. Um, because if you're not really willing to put in that work, you're not going to get much out of it. So it depends on who you are, how your work ethics are, and how you learn. A lot of the issues that I've seen is people don't know how they learn. Like, are you just a reader? Do you need videos, or are you hands on? People just don't know what that is for them. And so they struggle, and they'll just barely get by on getting a bachelor's degree, but then they look at that piece of paper like, what did I really learn besides how to research? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it comes down to the person themselves.
What do you think what do you think you got the most out of from your experiences in higher education so far?
A lot of it comes down to how to research it. That's a really big thing, because if you know how to look things up, then the world is your oyster. You can learn anything that you need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I dig that. I dig that a lot.
Like that is, I have to say, that is one of the major things that I've learned. That and the soft skills, being able to talk to people. Um, Whenever I was in the military, I didn't talk to people. I was very, you talk to me, you're talking to a wall kind of person. But going through doing reports and presentations, stuff like that through college, it's helped me open up a lot as a person to be able to sit down and talk to people and being able to communicate with them whatever my thoughts are, and then also being able to understand what they are trying to communicate to me.
Yeah. And like soft skills are definitely important. I think maybe that's what kind of held me back like after I got out because
Yeah.
like I had the skill set to do pen testing straight out of the Air Force. I have no doubt I could have easily done it, but it's just nobody would give me a chance. Like
Yes.
I had the skills, I had the knowledge, and what's even more, like I had proof of the knowledge, and nobody would give me a chance at all. They'd just be like, well, we have this checkbox, you didn't meet this, so we're gonna go with someone else.
Yeah, and that, in my opinion, is honestly the gatekeeping part of the workforce nowadays. I'm not going to name any names on the company, but there's one company to where they just said, "Hey, you just need your high school diploma, and we'll take you." I'm like, "Great! I'm a perfect fit for this because I have all of this experience in my own personal labs." And so I applied, dropped my resume, and I get a call saying, "Hey, sorry, you're not what we're looking for. You didn't meet any of the requirements." And I'm like, "Yeah, I did. Your one requirement was a high school diploma, and I have it right here." And they turned me down because I didn't have the preferred certifications of the OSCP, the OSWE, and things like that, and Security Plus. Because I didn't have those certs, they're like, "Nope, see you later." So there's a lot of change that needs to happen in the HR aspect of the community in order to allow entry level people, because there are smart people out there,
Oh yeah.
especially 15, 16-year-old hackers that will smoke me any day.
Yeah, man. I can't. I was joking with Dylan Barker about it, like
Yeah.
on one of my more recent interviews, and like we were just kind of joking back and forth. Like we actually know dudes at Pizza Hut that are like freaking amazing,
Oh
but
yeah.
they can't get hired, because either some other crazy reason, like they didn't meet the checkbox, or it was something stupid like substance abuse, and it's
Yeah.
just like, come on, man. Like, why is that? Like
Yeah.
if there's a path, or like a kind of like a trajectory of making good life decisions. I don't know why past maybe bad decisions would hold one back, but
Yeah. And a lot of that is just how society is nowadays. And there has to be that change in order to allow for people to progress in whatever they're trying to do. Because, like I said, it's a shame to see the talent that's out there. And there's nothing wrong with bug bounty, but they can do a lot more with an actual job on top of bug bounty. And it's a shame that these web app testers are stuck on HackerOne or Bug Crowd, and they can't even get a job because they don't have credentials,
yeah,
or because they've had substance abuse in the past. So there has to be a huge shift somewhere.
I agree. I'm kind of curious to get your perspective on where it starts, but I also want to talk about more technical stuff too. 'Cause
Mhm.
I know you're just as much of a fan of popping shells as I am.
Oh yeah.
So the pen testing has well, we'll just call it like adversary simulation pen testing, like a
Yeah.
general umbrella term, right? So
Yeah.
we got many different subfields. We got we got cloud, we got web app, we got internal, we got external. If you had to choose one of those, and that was the only type of assessment that you could do for the rest of your life, what would you want to do?
Oh man, that's hard because all of it's fun. It,
I
it
agree.
truly is. All of it is fun. Puppet show, no matter where you're at, is a phenomenal thing. But I would have to say, honestly, it would have to be traditional networking, because no matter what you do, there always is that baseline infrastructure. Whether you're cloud based or not, you're going to have that baseline infrastructure of, you got racks, you got switches, you got end user computers, stuff like that. You're always going to have that. And that's where a lot of your issues are going to come from, is honestly with social engineering attacks, getting after those end users, or finding those vulnerabilities in the end user computers, or even in switches, routers, or anything like that. So it'd have to be traditional network pen testing, in my opinion.
I like that one because it's not one that I typically hear. Because like there's a lot of people in our industry that kind of I don't want to say assume, but I guess kind of paint this picture of network pen testing as something that's never going to change. Like there's only one methodology. This is it. Like this is all you
Mm-hmm.
have to do to have a network pen test.
Yeah.
And I disagree a lot with those kind of people, because there's there's a lot of variety. You know, there's
Oh yeah,
over 65,000 ports per host. Probably a lot more there than just doing replay attacks and whatever. So I'm
yeah,
curious to get your perspective throughout kind of like the attack life cycle, and this can be with like a CTF or anything. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
Throughout the attack life cycle, which would you say you like more? So like you can't say exploitation because everybody knows popping shells is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So aside from exploitation, what would you say is like your other favorite area of the methodology?
Going into it, I would have to say post, because the reason why is it's easy to get in some cases, but it's having the ability to stay in there. Because if your one exploit is on one basic machine and that one machine goes down, you now no longer have that pathway. Whereas if you set up a post exploit somewhere on the backside or on the backend servers or something like that, then you have access until whenever. You know what I mean? I would have to say that post exploitation.
I like that one a lot because it's really diverse. You know, like you can go the persistence route, like you said. You can escalate
Mm-hmm.
privileges. You can maybe move laterally elsewhere. There's a lot of different directions that you can go in post exploitation. That's an
Oh yeah,
interesting answer. I like that one.
yeah.
If we're kind of talking about resources that had helped you earlier, I know you had mentioned Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, and you're studying for PNPT.
Mm-hmm.
What were maybe some other resources that have helped you so far? Maybe like home labs or CTFs. What?
The thing that helped me out a lot, and it kind of ties in with the studying for PNPT, was I was also working on taking the practical ethical hacking course through Cyber Mentor Academy, or through TCM Academy. The thing that helped me out the most was specifically his Active Directory lab setup. I have sat down and set up my Active Directory lab more times than I care to admit, but it has given me knowledge on places on where to look once into like a domain controller or something like that. Because if the more you get familiar with that stuff, the easier it is to find something that's off. And so I would have to say that section in the practical ethical hacking course was the biggest thing for me, because it also allowed for me to dig into the networking side. And I would also say GNS3 is also another great tool
Yes.
if you're trying to dig into those layers of the L2 L3 layers. That is a great tool to really grasp what is going on that side, even if you don't have a physical rack to run on.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of GNS3. I don't really use it much anymore. But back when I was huge into home labbing, GNS3 was definitely one that I liked. So if you've never heard of it, GNS3 is kind of like a emulator for network infrastructure of sorts. Um, so it's really cool tool. Highly recommend to check it out. What about I guess on the research side of things, what are some things that you're researching these days? What are some things you're looking into?
Right now, I'm actually kindly or digging more into that web app side, because as much as I do like that traditional networking pen testing side, the world is moving more towards that web application. So right now, I'm actually getting ready to start a series on my channel, which is going through the OWASP juice shop, and we're going to go through and learn all of that and uh, try and get every challenge that is on there. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because it is a great tool. It teaches you a lot and it forces you to learn a lot. Um, but honestly, right now it's definitely the web app side. So yeah,
I've always had a soft spot for web. I think SQL injection was one of the first types of bug classes that I had ever seen demoed.
yeah,
Web will always have a soft spot for me, but man, the methodology on it is super deep.
Oh yeah, you can dive so far in a web app and don't even realize where you started once you get to a certain point. Like, how did I even get here? In some aspects, especially whenever you get through into that back end server, if you can definitely dive deep into something and see some crazy things. I know Dog EG does some crazy things with web app. It is crazy on the things that he can do.
If we're kind of going in that direction, I know it might seem a little strange, but yeah, while you're kind of going through the job hunting process, I think
Yeah.
you would be a great resource to get some insights for others as well. Um, while you've been going through this process, is there maybe anything you would have done or represented about yourself differently to companies? Maybe choices that you wish you could go back and redo?
Honestly, it would be the networking side and how to communicate yourself to other people. Because a lot of us have an issue of talking about ourselves. It makes us uncomfortable. And I'm sure everyone who's is watching your show has probably heard this in some form or fashion. But talking about yourself can be very difficult for some people. And for me, that is 100% me. My resume, I 100% can guarantee you, I can hand it to any resume writer, and they're gonna be like, "What is this?" Because I hate talking about myself, and I don't like talking about some of the accolades that I've done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I can go back and learn how to do that at an earlier stage of my life, maybe even back whenever I was active duty, I think that would be the biggest thing is learn how to communicate your skills because what may seem like a small thing to you could be a big thing for that hiring manager.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, kind of going down that road. I remember who I used to be before the Air Force, and who I used to be was a very weak-willed person. Not really confident in anything. I could barely start conversations with people, and so like in one aspect, I'm thankful for the Air Force for giving me that, but I'm not entirely sure it was worth it. Just the cost that it came at, you know.
Yeah, there's always pros and cons to everything that we do, and I've learned a lot from the Air Force, even though it was only a short time. I learned a lot, and not all of it was positive. And like I brought up on Cyber Warriors show last night, that when we were talking about leadership, that I may have not had seen great leaders, but I know what not to do,
Oh yeah,
and
I
that
would
is the
say that's
biggest thing.
just as valuable, honestly.
Yes, because you could sit down. Like for me, I saw the things that were happening with my experience, and I remember how I felt in that moment. And those were very pivotal moments for me. And I'd even whenever I was in, I would try and stop that to the best of my ability because it wasn't just me that was happening to. There's a bunch of new airmen that are coming in and just immediately getting shattered because there's no real guidance for them. And so I would always try and do something, whether it be big or small, to help them and push them in the right direction. And that right there has carried over. That's one of the pluses that has come out of one of my negatives is now it's, hey, I make sure everyone has a voice. Even in meetings I go to today, if I see someone sitting there going like this, like trying to struggle and they're not getting a word out, it's, hey, he has something to say or she has something to say. Let them speak, see what they got to say. And it could be the greatest thing. Some of the greatest ideas have been snuffed out by leadership. And it's part of just how they were brought up.
Yep, and well, that's an important thing for people to be aware of because we're going that deep. That can be the difference between having a happy retirement someday and taking yourself out. Like it,
Yeah.
that is how big of an impact things like that have, and it's important to be aware of it. Like, super good call out on that one, dude.
Yeah, it always, because I don't share this often with a lot of people, but I've actually had one of my, to this day, still one of my best friends, and I check up on him every once in a while. But while we were in training, he attempted to do something that was irreversible, and I was the one person that he reached out to. Unfortunately, I was asleep whenever he reached out. Um, but once I realized what had happened, I jumped through his dorm door, and luckily he was still with us. And to this day, he is still active duty, serving the United States Air Force. And every once in a while, I'll check up on him, and he's doing great. But it came down to no one was really talking to him. And when it came down to when the commander started doing his investigation on it, there was only one person that truly remotely came close to know what was going on, and that was me. And that was because I sat down and I talked with him. And the biggest thing that I grasped out of that was just make sure that you are aware of your teammates or even people in your company. They may not be on your team, but go out there. If you see something off, all it takes is a, hey, are you okay? And that right there can change the tide of their life. Is that one small moment.
100%, man. And I already know there's going to be people like, isn't this a hacking channel? Like, what are you guys talking?
I know, right?
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've personally experienced it myself.
Yeah.
And like, this is the kind of stuff that nobody talks about in infosec.
And it's a shame because this is this kind of stuff that leads to burnout, and burnout leads to either career changes or in some cases the worst. And it does need to be talked about. I mean, yeah, I'm a hacker. I'm new to all this. I've only been hacking for a year and a half, and there's a lot that I could bring to the table. But there are things that, no matter how small, need to be brought up. So, it my biggest thing out of anything that, if whoever watches this even years down the road, the one thing I always will stress, and I hope you get out of this, is watch out for each other. Even if it's the one person that you absolutely despise, they might be going through some stuff that you may not know of, and it might just take you intervening to help them out.
Yep, as they always said, have a battle buddy.
Yes, 100%.
If you had to, I guess, kind of, going in a little bit of a more light direction.
Yeah, I know it's got real heavy.
We got real deep, but it's cool. Yeah. I'm all about this kind of conversations. If if you had to kind of sit down with someone totally brand new, no experience whatsoever, you are the person showing them the way in the world of hacking. What's the first thing that you would recommend to someone to kind of start exploring? Maybe not go like super deep, like straight into Metasploit or something, but like what are some things that people can do to kind of ease their way into it?
I would say watch. Your first couple, I would say month and a half, is watch. See how it is done and get it from different perspectives, like from the blue team, a red team side. Because you may be initially going in like, yes, I want to hack, I want to hack, I want to hack. But then you realize that, man, I'm really struggling in this. I can't really grasp this idea or this idea. But then going in and be like, take a break. First of all, take a break. Self-care is huge. But then change the subject. Come back to hacking later, but stay within that realm to where you still learn the general technologies. Because foundation is the biggest thing. And that was one thing that I learned early on was I jumped straight into hacking, but I had no network background whatsoever. I couldn't tell you, and I probably still can't even tell you specific IP classes. I couldn't say anything about L2, L3s, networking. I couldn't even tell you what an HTTP request was. Learn the fundamentals. learn those and build from there. Because if you go to jump full throttle, you will burn out faster than a match lit on in a windy day. It's going to happen. Pace yourself and explore. Just that, explore. Because you might find that one aspect of pen testing, like you may not be that awesome network pen tester, but you find that you're really great at reverse engineering applications. And now you just found your niche in the world to go after and make an impact. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm kind of curious to get your perspective because you're absolutely right. Being, well, I don't necessarily want to say successful, but I mean, at least not looking like an idiot in this field demands a lot of, kind of other knowledge from other domains. So
Yeah.
I'm 100% on board with that. I think it's incredibly important for people to learn the fundamentals of networking or some basic like sysadmin kind of tasks.
Yeah.
Because if I hadn't had that foundation from the Air Force and I just got out and I was like, oh, well, I no idea what I'm doing, I wouldn't even know where to start,
And that was me. Because I mean, I went from a combat role and a combat support role to now I legitimately jumped straight into hacking. And I burnt myself out because I was doing try hack me, and then I dove into a realm of hack the box. And I sat on one easy box from launch day until it retired, and I never got a foothold. And that seriously made me question my choices in life. I spent 3 months on an easy box, and I couldn't get a foothold. And it made me step back. And once I took I think it was about like 2 or 3 week break where I didn't do anything. And I came back and I started from ground one, like ground zero, started over. And I brought out my networking books that I had from college, and I reread a lot of those and the Security Plus side of things to recage my knowledge and be like, okay, from these experiences, this stuff matters. It truly does matter. And whenever I was learning it, I was going through half cocked, barely getting by in college because I thought, oh, I don't need this. I don't need to understand any of that. And I was 100% wrong. And that's where the people that I've met through Twitter, like Conda and Cyber Warrior and Infinite Logins and all of them, talk with them, learning them, helping me recage and learn the basics, that helped me get to where I'm at now. And another thing, going back to the previous question of to a new person, what would I recommend doing? Ask questions.
100%.
100%. There's no dumb question, because you could be sitting in a boardroom with the CEO, CISO, and the lead IT guy and your team, and you may think, well, what is that technology? I don't know what that is. What is that acronym? And just because you may not know doesn't mean that everyone else may know. That CEO
Correct.
probably has no idea what any of us tech nerds are saying. So he's probably gonna be like, what's that? And if you raise that question too, he'd probably be like, oh, he didn't know, so I don't feel so bad. And he's the tech guy. So it comes down to get comfortable with asking questions. It may seem like it's going to be annoying at some aspects, but as long as you ask questions and you're learning, don't just ask a question and then check out. Learn from what they are saying.
I totally agree with that. And, I kind of, a fan of, very, very respected fan of the channel, had kind of mentioned to me recently that, my content is far enough removed from, like non-IT people that they really wouldn't get much out of it if they were to watch my content.
Yeah.
But for the people that do know what I'm talking about, it almost feels kind of like a Clubhouse sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's important feedback for me because on one hand, It kind of tells me that I don't explain things at a beginner friendly level, which I'm that's just not what I'm about, but
Yeah.
on the other hand, I can also see how that would turn people away from me too.
Yes.
So and like we can say things, like, hey, go explore GNS3. GNS3 is it's not as straightforward as it sounds. You need a background in networking, physical connectivity, which interfaces connect to which other interfaces.
Oh yeah.
Like virtualization. You have to know a lot of stuff just to be able to build a lab with GNS3.
Exactly. So, and that's where, again, asking those questions and also dumbing it down. I hate to say it, or in Air Force term, army proofing it.
Yep.
Making it understandable for...
I haven't heard that in years.
There you go. Army proofing it, making sure that private that walks through that door can understand what you are saying, because the weakest link, or the chain can only be as strong as the weakest link. And if you have one person that is going into either a pen test, or even a NOSC or a SOC position, you got that one person that doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't know what's going on. They could be that one element that could stop something. Like, hey, I see that. That doesn't look normal. And that's all it takes to stop a potential cyber attack or to stop even a network failure. It doesn't even have to be something as bad as a cyber attack. It could just be as simple of, hey guys, this doesn't look right. Let's fix this. And it could keep the network up and running.
Yeah, well, sometimes this is going to sound completely insane. And there are probably going to be hiring managers out there that'll probably raise an eyebrow at me, but honestly, you have to catastrophically screw up at least once or twice, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Because they're awesome learning experiences.
And that's one thing I wish I could actually show you my office without it being a total wreck. But on my whiteboard, I have fail written as an acronym. And do you know what it stands for?
Tell us, what does FAIL stand for?
First attempt in learning.
Oh, I like that one.
Failure is not the only time that you truly fail is whenever you give up. As long as you pick yourself up and learn from your failure, guess what? Now you know what not to do. Don't do that again, especially if it crashes something. I don't know how many times I've rebuilt a virtual lab because I'd go in, modify a file, I hit save, and I get blue screened, or it just says, sorry, there's an error. Guess what? I ain't doing that again.
Yep.
So don't be afraid, unless it's going to cause catastrophic life limb or huge amount of money. If you could do it in a safe manner to where it's not going to do anything, 100% mess it up. Do it. Give it a shot. See what happens.
Yeah.
Now you know what to do and what not to do.
And even then, like, if there is some serious consequence to you making a mistake, I mean, that's still an important lesson, because
Yep.
It teaches you the value in doing things the right way.
Yep. Following either the checklist that has been published or the procedures, or it may be that senior guide's technique of, hey, look, I've made this mistake before. Don't do this. And if you go down and you end up doing the exact same mistake that he did, he's going to walk up to you and say, I told you so. And you're going to have that moment. And I've had that moment in the Air Force. I've bent metal on an aircraft. And we all know Uncle Sam don't like whenever you bend a $30 million aircraft metal.
Nope.
So listening, a lot of it is also listening. Like, just sit back and watch, and you'll be shocked at what you can learn if you turn off your mouth.
I agree 100%. Kind of going down that road, because I know Being a content creator is difficult for a number of reasons. Just
Oh yeah.
getting people involved is
Oh yeah.
is probably the biggest frustration, at least for me. But
Right there with you.
it's not totally at a loss. It kind of slowly grows over time.
Yeah.
I'm curious to get your perspective. Um, is there maybe some things that we as content creators can do to help better represent the knowledge that we're trying to share?
I think a lot of it is we need to get out of our technical world. And yes, we are sitting here trying to create things for other IT minded people. And one thing that I'm trying to do personally with my show is dumb it down for the new guy. My whole preference behind Devilray pen testing is not necessarily to show, hey, here's the latest, greatest, most difficult exploit. It's the basics. It's, hey, what does this actually mean? And that's where I'm going in with Juice Shop, is to break it down on a basic level to hopefully get even those younger people that may be trying to think about going and exploring it. Imagine being 12 years old and you're like, I love computers, but then you go to a guy and he goes, so go ahead and plug this Cat 5e cable into port 42 on the fourth rack on rack 82. He's going to look at you like you're dumb. Like I'm sorry, not sorry. That kid's gonna look at you like, what?
Yeah, he's gonna be like, "Are you gonna ask me where John Connor is next, you freaking robot?"
Right? So it's dumbing it down for the next generation that's going to fall behind us. And thinking about that doesn't start when you're in that leadership role. It honestly should start when you're in the field. What can you do to start building people up? Because you may be in a level 0 position, but guess what? There's still someone below you, the person not in that position. So you could always do something like, hey, look, I did this, and this. Now let me bring it down to their level so that the people that are maybe lower in position for me can understand what I did to get to my position. You know what I mean? And if we can get the community get to that point to where it's more openness and non-IT friendly, and I think we could see an increase in the realm of IT in general, not just pen testing or cybersecurity, but IT in general. There's a huge deficit of people, or in the community, of we need people in the field to do stuff, and we don't make it easy to get in at all by any
I'd
stretch of
agree.
imagination.
I'd totally agree with that.
So we need to do it at, even at, like I said, at my level and the levels above me and below me. We all need to do something to make it easier for people to get in. And one person I'm definitely going to shout out on him doing this for is Heath Adams, the cyber mentor. He went out and one of the best courses, and from what I hear, one of the best certifications. You can do it all for $400. So, and he constantly sends out discounts. He's all about getting that content out to those people that may not have the $2,000-$3,000 to go out the OSCP. And I 100% commend him for it. It is phenomenal what he's doing. I'm doing it. I love his content. I'm going through his OSINT course right now. And he makes it so easy to get in and start learning. And we need more of that. A lot more of it.
I totally agree. And shout out to Heath Adams from me as well. I ran into him at Wild West Hacking Fest a couple of years ago, and I had an awesome night hanging out with him, his wife. Shout out Jake Knowlton, J2K3, I think, on Twitter. Like even going to conferences, man. Even the local ones, like just putting yourself out there into the ecosystem at all. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's probably like half the battle, you know?
Oh yeah, a lot of it is just making that plunge into the community, and that is one thing that even me personally, that I'm struggling with, is getting out to those conventions, because I'm not in a prime location for any of that. For me, to give you guys an example, it was going to be $8,000 for me to go to DEF CON this year if I were to go. And that's just to get there. That wasn't including food.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things out there that one you need to start looking at. And one place I would highly recommend, and one thing I should have mentioned them earlier. There was a meetup group up in Canada that started up on meetups.com, and they held virtual things, and they were sanctioned by Hack the Box. But every month, they, even to this day, still do monthly meetups to where they go over one box, then they bring someone on to walk through it, and they even brought in the actual creators of the box themselves in some cases, and they will go through and walk you through this entire box. That right there was the biggest thing for me, because that was the biggest breakthrough in learning. Was not only do I get to see how it's done, but I get to listen to the presenter on how they got there. What was their mindset? What was their methodology? And that's another thing, is methodology on anything. You have to have that. And that's a great way to build it, is talking with people, going to presentations, conferences, and stuff like that. You can learn how to build a methodology that way. Because if you don't have methodology and just know tools, you don't know how to use the tools.
I agree 100%.
So get out there. Don't be shy. Say hello. You know where I'm at on Twitter. I will 100% sit down and talk with you guys and try and help you guys get started. I'm all for it. I'm here to help the small guy because I am the small guy. So let's get out there. Start making waves.
Yep, and like I've said it before, at least on one occasion, I think. But if I hadn't, I'll say it again. I am just one person.
Yep.
There's, and even that, like, I'm not really consistent with the content that I put out. So I highly encourage, if you like and enjoy my content, go look at people like Devilray. Go look at people like Cyber Warrior Studios. I mean, if you don't get knowledge from me, that's okay. The people that I do these with are, like yourself included, are people that I know what they're talking about, and people that I respect. And like I would never do one of these with someone if I thought that they were suspicious or up to no good. And so, like, if you don't get information from me, go check out people like Devilray, Cyber Warrior Studios, Davin Jackson, DJax Alpha, Harley, Conda, all of these people. All of these people, man, go out and explore, because, like, even if you do just focus on one resource, that's the only perspective that you get,
Diversity is a huge thing, because what one method might work for some people might not work for others, and one tool might not work for every situation. That's why, like, for example, Metasploit. I learned Metasploit up and down. I love Metasploit, but there are times where Metasploit will get you in trouble, or it will be the brick wall that, hey, I can't get this to work. Why can't this fire? You do the manual exploitation, guess what? It works. So please get some diversity out there. Watch a bunch of people, and you will learn a lot more. And it's nothing to pull away from your channel. It's 100% just to get people to better themselves. Go out there, please. If you enjoy my content, go out there, watch it. Whoever you are watching this episode, let me know that you enjoy it, because I got a message the other day on Discord. No, it was a comment on the YouTube channel. The user had followed along to my video, and he thanked me for it. He's like, hey, this greatly helped me out. And I'm like, that right there, that's all I need. It don't matter about money. It don't matter about the views. It don't matter about any of that. If it helps someone else out there, please watch the hell out of it. I don't care. Share it with your friends, but enjoy it. And let me know. Let me know what you want to see else on there. Like I said, I'm on Devilray Studios. here on YouTube. I launch videos on Wednesdays whenever I'm not potatoing the video editing portion of it.
You and me both,
As
man.
I'll tell you now, I had one lined up for this past Wednesday, and I did something in DaVinci to where it failed miserably on rendering. I couldn't figure out why in that moment, so I skipped that day. But I always try and upload at least every Wednesday. And if let me know what you guys want to see. Cyberwar Studios here on YouTube. I'm also on Twitter, Devilray17. Reach out, talk to me. I'm all for it. I'm on Twitter all day, unfortunately. And then I recently got an Instagram. So I'll have to look that one up. I forget. I'm barely on there because I almost don't use it. But please reach out. I'm here for you guys. Like I said, I've started from the very bottom. I'm here to try and create content for you guys, and look forward to interacting with you guys. Please, it does make me feel good whenever you guys get something out of the content that I do create.
And it does for me as well. It's maybe I can't. My community is a little strange. They're very energetic and they're very demanding. They know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
So, for the future of the field, you coming in with fresh eyes,
Yeah,
you're going to be able to see things that many other people in this industry wouldn't be able to. What are some problems that you see coming over the next 5 to 10 years, and how do you think we can address those problems?
honestly, it's that initial start. HR managers and things like that, y'all need to get with the people that are going to be working in that position and truly understanding what that position is and what the requirements are. Because if you just go based off of something that was created 10 years ago, you're not going to get the pull that you want. For the new people coming in, don't get discouraged. Keep your head up, keep going, reach out to people, talk to people. They are the greatest resources out there, because without people, knowledge wouldn't have existed. Talk to them, and you will learn more from potentially a single interaction. It may not be the information you're looking for, but it's information that you need. And just stick with it and go with the basics. And eventually, in time, you'll get to where you're going. I've been at it for a year and a half, and here I am still working at a government contract position. I'm still going. Keep it going. Please. You got it.
100%. And well, I'm not going to go into my timeline. If you've seen some of my other content, you know it took me a very long time, because I am not a smart person. I am very much average, and my grades from school reflected that. Don't.
Yep. I'm right there with you, man. Trust me on that. I'm right there with you.
Like, there'll be people, man, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. How did you come up? No, just pure dumb luck. Like, a lot of it is pure dumb luck.
Yep.
It's kind of sad, actually. Like, luck has definitely played a lot of, I guess, a role in my career. But I don't hear people talk about that. It's like, I know it doesn't really like seem like that would be a factor, but like, luck has been a huge factor in my career.
Oh yeah.
I guess what are, before we bring this toward a close, what are some things, maybe some final words of advice that you have for people? How can we increase our chances? How do we become more skilled? Anything like that?
I would say initially, don't pinpoint what you're trying to do out the gate. Be diverse, have a wide skill set, learn programming. I used to hate computer coding, but now I do it, and it helps out a lot. I've learned Python, which is a great language to learn. 100% learn Python, learn Bash, and things like that. in conjunction with the tools that you're trying to run, because more times than not, it's probably written in one of those languages. So understand what you're doing before you do it. There's a difference between a hacker and a script kiddie. And there's nothing wrong to be with a script kiddie, 100% nothing wrong. Just means you're new. But dive into what you're about to launch before you launch it. Because if you don't know what you're doing, then you don't know what it's going to do. And it could have some serious implications. And in this field, those serious implications could lead to jail time, unfortunately, or getting sued. So please protect yourself. Know what is going on, do it in a safe manner, and do it knowing what is going on. Because if you don't, you could potentially get yourself in deep trouble. And you're not going to like what could potentially come of it. And you might get lucky. There's been times I'll 100% say I fired off something, and I'm like, and I go back and I look at it, I'm like, man, I don't know how I didn't get locked up or get sued for that. So please, 100% know what you're doing, understand, and take the time. Time is sometimes not your friend, but more times than not, it is your friend, because it is there for a reason. It's to get you to learn what you need to learn. So, and manage it well, please. I'm terrible with time management.
It's yeah, that's a tough skill to grow, man. It's like especially if you were like raised like me, you didn't really have a whole lot of rules. Time management is a key life skill to learn.
Yes, I don't know how many times that on a Tuesday night I will be sitting there on Hack the Box and just trying to learn and just go down the rabbit hole. And it's fun to go down the rabbit hole. Don't get me wrong, it is great. But then when you look at the time and it's now 3 o'clock in the morning, you normally wake up at 2:45. Time management is a huge skill to learn.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say that, you know, time management problems don't always look like procrastination. It can look like nerding out until 3 or 4 in the morning, and then you got to be up for work at 7. You know.
Yup. There's both ends of the spectrum that you need to be cautious of, and it does take experimenting to get that down. I'm still learning all my time management skills. And that's something that you should always try to evolve, because there's always ways to optimize better, because no situation is the same. So stop or sit back, evaluate, and then go. And 9 times out of 10, it will either help you either one, not lose out on sleep, or two, not help you not oversleep, if you know what I mean.
Yep. What's next for you? Any cool projects or speaking engagements or other things people can get excited about?
I'm actually going to be a guest over on Republic of Hackers. Their new YouTube channel. They have a great Discord community, and I'm shocked they didn't have a YouTube channel prior or sooner than what they had, because they have sit downs with people in their Discord where they will live stream, try hack me and hack the box and stuff like that. And we'll try, and with hack the box, you can get kind of tricky with the terms of service there, but they have great demos and they have a lot of knowledge. And I'm been honored with the fact of they want me on there as a guest presenter for one of the try hack me boxes. So look for that here coming soon on both the Cyber Warrior Studios channel and the Republic of Hackers channel as well.
Where can people reach out to you? How can people get in contact with you?
The best way is through Twitter. My phone is on my hip and I'm logged in at Twitter. So please, if I don't reply right away, that means I'm probably busy at work or I'm busy with my family. I do take family time as serious as I can. They are very giving on the fact that I do spend a lot of time in front of my computer. So I appreciate that. But whenever I do spend time with them, I tend to not look at my phone because that time is precious. So, but please reach out. DMs are open. I don't think I restrict my DMs on Twitter. And if you're not on Twitter, we'll have the Instagram. Again, it's on my phone. So please DM me. And I'm more than happy to sit down and talk with people and help them out, whether it's getting into the field, learning something, or deep diving something very specific, because it might be something that I may not know. and I'm always down to learn something new.
I think that's the most important part, honestly. Every day, it's. I don't think there's a day that goes by where I'm not learning something new.
Yes, the saying that I've had told to me a few times in my military career is, if you're not learning, you're dead.
Pretty much.
So, like, I mean, it's kind of a dark thing to say, but it's true. I mean, are you just laying in bed watching TV and eating the bag of Doritos that you had 3 nights prior and you haven't moved? It's probably time to get up and move around. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times where you need that. For example, this past Wednesday, I laid on my couch with my son and watched TV all damn day. And it's something I needed to recharge. So, but yeah, I forgot where we was going to go with that one. It just kind of went off the rails.
Yeah. Well, how about this? Any final thoughts? Any hidden words of wisdom? I know we kind of talked a little bit about it before, but any final thoughts?
Honestly, keep at it. This field and any IT field, or even if you're not going in IT, everything takes time, everything takes effort, everything takes discipline. It all really comes down to what you want to do, and if you really want to do it. And if you really want to do it, you're going to find a way to make it work. So please get out there and do what you're going to do and own it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us. And once again, please go out, check out Devilray17 on Twitter. We got DevilRayCybersec.com and Devilray Pen Testing on YouTube. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but if I am,
it's actually Devilray Pen Testing on Cyber Warrior Studios.
Devilray Pen Testing on Cyber Warrior Studios.
Yes, there we go.
Okay. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever tried to actually hack the planet, go ahead, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Check out Devilray, Twitter, website, YouTube, Cyber Warrior Studios. He streams every Wednesday, I believe you said.
I launch videos every Wednesday. Yes.
So go check him out. And once again, look, I would never do these with someone that I didn't think knew what they were talking about or didn't have some value to provide to all of you. And so it may seem a little strange, but look, Devilray is a dude that I am familiar with, and I know his skill set. So he is absolutely worth your time, and I hope you all go check him out.
I appreciate that.
But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining. And do you have any cool outros that you like to do?
Unfortunately, I do not. I'm still trying to figure that out myself.
Well, that's okay. If you don't have a YouTube outro, that's okay. We don't need all of them, I guess. But I actually don't have an outro anymore. I just burnt it like a couple minutes ago. But thank you all for joining, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll catch you all in the next one.